people of the internet, it is day 15 of April, obviously. And what I've thought about as the topic for today is social media, which you will know because you will have hopefully read the title of the video, which is hopefully why you have selected this video to watch. Anyway, social media as an autistic person. Well, to be honest, this is fairly specific to the kind of problems I have with social media, which I think are slightly not normal. Which, I mean, is that really a surprise when you're autistic? I don't think it is. But anyway, the two sort of main problems that at least I have identified for myself, and you have probably maybe have as well, or maybe not, or maybe you have different ones, I don't know. And you're very welcome to tell me and the rest of the internet everything about them in the comments if you want to, but the two main problems that I sort of have is, one, getting overwhelmed by social media, and two, not really knowing how to do it. So yeah, and I will go on to have some tips and ways to get around that that have worked for me for those two specific problems. So, one, getting overwhelmed. One of the, I think, most important things, and generally it also, I think some of these can also help with the more sort of conventional problems, like, you know, spending too much time and so on. Actually, I think a lot of them do help with that as well. But anyway, my sort of first tip for that is, or one of the most important things for me is that putting the home feed, whatever it's called in different things, in chronological order as far as that's possible. But sometimes you need to like fight the apps or the social media, the web page a bit to make that happen. But yeah, and also turning off the suggestions, because a lot of the websites also have these like auto suggestions. You know, I'm assuming you know how social media works. And also turning those off, because they just make even more posts to have to pay attention to, and I don't want to have that many posts to pay attention, so I want as few as possible. So, you know, turning everything off that's trying to suggest to you to watch even more and look at even more things and so on. And I lost my plan. And then also, again, mostly for overwhelm, is limiting the amount of people I follow. And if that limit is reached, I sort of go through my list and sort of everyone that I don't really am interested in anymore. And yeah. And I mean, sort of also just being a bit picky about who you subscribe to in the first place, because, you know, if you don't subscribe to a lot of people, you're not going to have to unsubscribe to many people again. And that sort of just limits the amount of input that I actually have to pay attention to, which makes, yeah, everything far more, which means that I can have a certain, I don't get completely confused and overwhelmed by how much new things there are all the time. And then you can try a couple one. You don't have to be on every social media that there is. It's sort of, I think it can be very helpful to just be on one or two of them, and well, that's one less time, and two less energy that you have to spend on that, and three, you can actually sort of get to know that social media well and know how you deal with it and who you subscribe to and so on, and how you use it. And I'd suggest I think it can pay to try out a few different ones and then pick who you actually like best. But it also pays to think a little about, especially if you do want to gain some sort of followers, or if you sort of actively want to participate, it tends to be helpful to think a little bit about how you express yourself best. So if you sort of express yourself best in writing, then it's best to pick a writing-based one. If you like to express yourself in sort of pictures, then maybe it's better to choose a picture-based one, or choosing one that's a little more mixed. And of course that also sort of counts for what media you like to engage with, whether you like to listen to people or read or look at pictures. That's sort of, that's almost even more important than how it kind of depends on what you want to use the social media for, and also what your personal strengths are, especially depending on what you want to use it for, expressing yourself or just engaging with content. And for me, for example, I first of all mostly listen, and I also I kind of have less problems talking as long as I have a plan than writing. I find writing really difficult because it just takes a really long time, because I have a lot more time to think about things, and in the end it just takes an enormous amount of time for me to write a paragraph or something. So that's sort of for me the reasoning behind why I've sort of chosen YouTube as my primary social media, because that's, other than the fact that I just like making videos and editing and stuff, that sort of plays to the strengths that I have and what I need the least energy to do. And then similar to the unfollowing, it's also very useful to, or you should also use the filters and blocking, and not necessarily because filtering because something is like very actively harmful or anything, but just things that it can technically even be the news that you try to filter out, because while I would agree that a certain amount of engaging with what is happening in the world is, well, should be done for ethical reasons, or whatever you want to call them. But if it's just exhausting, it's not helping anyone either. So if it's, seeing that all the time is actively exhausting or triggering anxiety or anything like that, it should, I think it's better to filter that out and not expose yourself anyway. And if you do expose yourself, sort of make the active decision to do so by, for example, watching the news or something, instead of just seeing a little bit of it all the time that you don't even know if it's correct or not. Yeah, that's the overwhelm mainly. And then for, not knowing how, which can almost be more of a problem, it can be very helpful to actually research, sort of how the professionals do it. Even if you have absolutely no aspirations to become like a professional Instagrammer or whatever, it just sort of, there's a lot of strategies in there that can be helpful, and that can sort of can give you sort of an idea of how you can use it, how to use hashtags, for example, in different social media, because there's quite a lot of different rules depending on which social media you are in. And at the beginning that confused me like a lot, that like every page just had a different system of dealing with that. So I just looked at a lot of videos for how, to become a professional Instagrammer and whatever. Not necessarily because that's what I want to do, but just because that gives me a framework of how to use the social media. And of course, if you don't have that goal, you don't need to be nearly as extreme as some of these things are, like with updating every couple of hours and so on. And then it can also be helpful to just sort of ghost, I call it, for a while, and just sort of, read other people's posts and just look at stuff. If you can, even look at what other people are liking, or subscribe to a few people, because then usually the website will tell you anyway. And just watch a little bit before you start actively doing stuff yourself. And then sometimes it can also pay off to specifically research certain hashtags to know how they are used and what other people are posting into those hashtags. I don't think a lot of people really think about what hashtag they're using in a specific situation a lot. But I research that a lot because, I'm sort of constantly think I may be using it wrong. So sometimes it's just good to sort of be aware and know what's actually being posted there and how much and so on. And it can also just be interested, especially if you sort of like statistics and stuff. Or if you have a certain special interest, just making a very long list of all the specific hashtags that are used in specific combinations and so on, and just sort of combining social media with something else that is fun. So engaging with it is actually fun, because it is sort of it can be a social, you can use it to actually be social and not just portray yourself, which is, I think, slightly hypocritical to say in a video. But I mean, I genuinely, part of why I do YouTube is for the comments and for reading what other people think about certain things, and what I genuinely find that interesting. And it's not just about getting however many views on a certain video. yeah, and I just do it because it's fun for me. But the reasons people use social media are very different, I think, and sort of you need to actively adapt social media to both yourself and to, yeah, no, actually not, I was gonna say and to your autism, but I mean, that's not really two different things, so that doesn't really make much sense. Anyway, I hope that you have somehow enjoyed this video, and as I said, I would appreciate a comment on it to see how you interact with social media and what strategies you've created for that, because I am genuinely interested in that. And of course also, you know, likes and the vanity metrics, what they're called by the, you know, professional YouTubers apparently, which I know because I watched those videos, because I have actually tested those tips. Yeah, and if you want more videos like this, there will be another one tomorrow, of course, and the day after that, and every day until the end of April. And I hope that, yeah, you've learned something, had some inspiration, whatever, from this video, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.